All right, let's take a journey together. But not to outer space. We're going somewhere far more alien, way more hostile, and honestly, a place we know so little about. You see, the biggest mysteries aren't out there in the stars. They're right here, on our own planet, deep beneath the waves. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. We have these incredibly detailed maps of Mars. We know its craters, its mountains. And yet, when it comes to the ground beneath our own oceans, most of it is a total blank. This isn't just some trivia night fun fact. It's a huge blind spot in how we see our own home.
And here's why that blind spot is so massive. Check this out. A whopping 94% of all life on Earth lives in the water. Yeah, you heard that right. That means you, me, every single person, every insect, every land animal, all of us, we're part of this tiny little 6% minority. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. We're the real aliens on a planet that truly belongs to the ocean.
So if most of life is in the water, what's that world like? Well, think about sunlight. It can only punch through the first few hundred meters of the ocean surface. But the average depth of the ocean is almost 4 kilometers. So you do the math, and you come to this absolutely wild conclusion. The vast majority of our planet, of the living space on our planet, exists in complete, permanent, pitch-black darkness.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's hop in our imaginary submarine and start our descent. We're going to head down into that abyss, and we'll make a few stops on the way just to get a feel for the scale of things before we hit the really weird stuff.
All right, here we go. We're dropping. At 40 meters, we've just passed the deepest a traditional pearl diver can go. Keep going. 332 meters. We just blew past the world record for a scuba dive. Down, down, down. 565 meters. We're now deeper than even an emperor penguin can swim. And then, at 1,000 meters, it's gone. The last little glimmer of sunlight just vanishes. From here on out, it's nothing but darkness. We've just entered what they call the midnight zone. And let me tell you, it is a whole different world. The pressure is immense. It would crush a normal submarine like a soda can. The water is just a few degrees above freezing. And food? It's basically non-existent. The only thing to eat is this constant slow-motion blizzard of organic junk drifting down from the world above. They actually call it marine snow. So you can imagine, whatever lives here has to be incredibly tough and probably incredibly weird.
But we're not stopping here. We're going deeper still. Our target is the big one, the most famous, the most extreme, the deepest scar on the face of our planet, the Mariana Trench.
So you've got to wonder, how does a chasm this massive even get made? Well, it's all about tectonic plates. You've got the huge Pacific plate basically doing a slow-motion nosedive under the smaller Philippine plate. It's this colossal geological collision happening over millions and millions of years that's carved out this incredible trench. And to give you a sense of scale, don't picture this as just some deep hole in the ground. No, this is an epic underwater canyon. The Grand Canyon is about 450 kilometers long? The Mariana Trench is over 2,500 kilometers long. That's more than 5 times longer. It's just immense.
The conditions inside this trench are just mind-bending. You have underwater volcanoes with lakes of pure liquid sulfur. You've got these things called black smokers, hydrothermal vents, that are blasting out water hot enough to melt lead at 450 degrees Celsius. And all the while, the pressure is building. At the bottom, it's more than 1,000 times the pressure we feel just standing here. It's absolutely crushing.
So this was the ultimate question for scientists, right? For decades, they wondered, with that kind of pressure, with total darkness and freezing water, could anything actually live down there? Or was the deepest point on Earth just a barren, lifeless void? Well, the answer, when it finally came, was a huge shock. It was a definite no. Life does exist there. And honestly, the story of how we found life in the Challenger Deep, that's the very bottom of the trench, it's one of the coolest stories in all of modern science. It didn't happen all at once, though. The clues came in slowly. It all started back in 1960 on the first manned dive. The explorers looked out the porthole and saw something that looked like a flatfish. That alone was a huge deal. Then, decades later, in '95, a robotic probe scooped up some mud and found microbes. Fast forward to 2011, and they find these giant 10-centimeter amoebas. I mean, single-celled organisms the size of your hand. And then, the grand finale. In 2014, they actually got footage of the deepest fish ever recorded. And this is it, the Mariana snailfish. This little ghost of a creature is tough as nails.
thriving at depths over 8,000 meters. And get this, down there, it's the top predator. It's the king of the food chain. Not because it's big and scary, but because nothing else, no other fish, can handle that insane pressure. It literally has no competition. It is the undisputed king of the abyss. Okay, so the Mariana Trench is incredible for sure, but it's not the only game in town. The oceans are full of these deep, dark, mysterious trenches, and each one has its own weird secrets to tell. Let's take a quick look. Over in the Atlantic, you've got the Puerto Rico Trench. It's the deepest spot there, and it has this super weird gravity anomaly we'll talk about. Then back in the Pacific, there's the Kermadec Trench, which is almost as deep as the Mariana, and it's famous for something called deep-sea gigantism. So, that gravity thing in the Puerto Rico Trench, NASA says there's a blob of super dense material under the seafloor there, and it's so massive, it actually messes with gravity on the surface. It can even throw off ship navigation. And that gigantism in the Kermadec, they found these little shrimp-like creatures called amphipods, except they weren't little. They were 34 centimeters long. That's over a foot long. They also found a type of fish living thousands of meters deeper than its known range. It's like finding a polar bear in the Sahara Desert. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. It's just wild to think about. We've got these incredibly detailed maps of Mars, a whole other planet, and yet right here at home, over 80% of our own ocean floor is a complete and total mystery. Unmapped, unseen, unexplored. So, you have to ask yourself, in that enormous, dark, completely unknown territory that makes up most of our planet, what else is hiding down there? What else is just waiting for us to find